Hello, hi, good morning to our students, participants, guests. Okay, thank you for your time to spend with us in this lovely day today. I'm not alone. Okay, we'll be having our special guest to discuss another interesting topic. Okay, in conjunction with the thematic month of compassion. Okay, so before I begin, let me introduce myself. I'm Nita Yusuni, acting head of School of Business and Accountancy of Masa Avenue International College, MAIC. So Masa is one of the universities, okay, having a very well-known, outstanding programs, and MAIC is one part of the entity offering a very well programs that is based on the industry demand. For School of Business, we're having four major programs: Diploma in Business, Diploma in Human Resource Management, Diploma in Accounting, and Certificate in Business. All right. So we'll talk about that to the ends of the session today. All right. So today we're going to go through another interesting topic. And again, we bring our gentleman, Mr. Fong Yit Meng, to share his experience, expertise, from his perspectives, okay, to talk about compassion in business. Okay, so if Mr. Fong, if you remember the first time we met, we discussed resilient business. I think for today's topic, it is related. Is it right?
Yes, good morning to everyone, and good morning to Nita. Thank you for having
Yeah.
me here again. Yeah,
Okay.
it's my
All right.
honor to actually hear sharing with you. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so let me introduce our special guest, Mr. Fong Yit Meng. Okay, he is the Chief Executive Officer for Airbel Technologies Sdn Bhd and has a very interesting and outstanding career portfolio since 2010. And he is also one of our industry advisors for business program for our school, and also a good industry expert, okay, to talk about some of the areas in his expertise and also in terms of technological wise. Okay, so not only that, he is also one of the certified trainer under the Human Resource Development Fund Malaysia, and he has been receiving good accomplishments, including member of the Institute of Corporate Directors Malaysia. So a list goes on. So maybe after this, Mr. Fong would like to share his background before we start for the talk. Okay, in conjunction with our thematic month compassion, we are going to share the inputs from Mr. Fong on compassion in business, how compassion can benefit your business. So we know that nowadays, or maybe from past few years, all right, okay, Mr. Fong, a lot of people, okay, including youngsters, the Generation Z, have the interest to be entrepreneurs, to do a business. But
Mhm.
we need to focus on compassion in order for them not only to survive but also to sustain in the business. Okay,
Mhm.
so without further ado, okay, we start. So before I pass to Mr. Fong, okay, so what is compassion? Okay, we all know what is
Mm.
passion, okay, something that you interest, but
Mhm.
compassion and how compassion can benefit business. So through my readings, Mr. Fong, I found this one good statement from Dalai Lama. So he said
Mhm.
that compassion is described as an individual sense of commitment or achievement, responsibility, and respect towards others. All right. So the today's webinar will talk about compassion and how do you
Mhm.
think that compassion and empathy relate towards building the resilient business and benefit to the entrepreneurs. All right. So Mr. Fong, to
Mhm.
begin with, okay,
Mhm.
it is
Yeah.
said that from some of the research, okay, compassion
Mhm.
begins with empathetic leadership, right?
Mhm.
And then leaders who are concerned for the well-being for the people
Mhm.
and who convey the ethical values, okay, through their actions and decision making. So from your
Mhm.
perspective, Mr. Fong, Do you think that
Mhm,
compassion and empathy interrelated? So I pass to you, Mr. Fong.
mhm. Thank you, Nita. Thank you for having me here again. So, absolutely, empathy and compassion is very much needed in today's world. Let it be for business or for life. So, what is empathy? Empathy is the ability to feel another person's emotion. So, it means can you feel my emotion and can you share my emotion? So, there's two parts. The first part is can you feel that I'm excited to share my knowledge with you now? And the second part is, do you feel excited because I'm excited? So this is probably the most needed skill today and in the future. Let's talk about compassion. What is compassion? Compassion is can you feel my suffering now and do you care? There's also two parts. The first part is can you feel my suffering? Suffering can be a kind of physical pain. It can be a mental pain. Okay, and do you care? So I suffer now to share my experience that matters to you. So will you let me know what you want to know in the comment box? I thank you for your concern and your questions. So now, empathy and compassion form the fundamental skills to understand people around you. When we talk about people, they can be people like your family members, your relatives, your friends, colleagues, teammates, your boss, your juniors, okay, your customers, your vendors, neighbors, security guards, or cleaner, or just an ordinary person that you met on the street. Mastering the skill to start to feel people around you, and you will very soon realize that it is a power to make you a better person. So, to avoid confusion, you might treat empathy and compassion interchangeably for this session. So, why are they interrelated? Because the first is we need to understand and feel someone and share the excitement. Then we need to be able to feel their particularly pain. Why does it matter so much? As we all know, the global issues like global warming, human trafficking, even the pandemic like COVID, all these problems can be solved if we care for each other and look at the community as a whole rather than individually as ourselves. So when it comes to business, this is also a very important point to remember. Why? Because we are no longer staying in the capitalism world where money is the main measure for a business. We are talking about a term called stakeholder capitalism, which means that we measure not only on the financial term, we measure by the people, how we treat our employee. COVID is a litmus test. It shows a lot of people how companies are treating their employees, some with respect and some are treated like it is terrible, okay? And then at the same time, we see how businesses are treating the world, the environment, the people, the birds in the sky and the fish in the water, right? With a few months of lockdown, the world healed itself. We can see a lot of posts that went viral. And this is a very good indicator that business is no longer about how much money you are making. It's about what kind of impact are you doing to the people within your organization and also outside of your organization. People get people will condemn the organizations for some insensitive statements that they make. A very good example is the LRT incident, okay, where the company's intention is to have a press conference, okay, but because of the choice of words and the sensitivity, it went viral and everybody start putting a lot of hashtags, okay, And this is a very good indicator to show you that the ability to care and to understand people's pain is indeed very much needed, right? Thanks for your question, Nita. Pass back to you.
Yes, I can see that. It has to start with the empathy, since, like you said just now, we need to have the concern in order for us to ensure that we are able to bring forward our business. Nowadays, yes, I can see what you say and what you mean through your experience as well. We are not only focusing on how to make profit. Okay, everybody is struggle in their everyday lives, especially in order for you to sustain and survive in your business. And compassion is one part of the empathy, right, Mr. Fong?
Mhm,
Okay, my next question, okay, from that introductory question. So we can
mhm,
also see that nowadays, okay, organizations, entrepreneurs, businesses, okay, they are very much aggressive towards competing with one another to move forward, as well as to ensure that, okay, they are able to provide what I call
mhm,
that, a long term sustainability and also competitive advantage. But
mhm,
to go to that level, it has to start with the good business leaders as well. So
mhm,
it is believed that organizations that promote an ethic of compassion, okay, not
mhm,
only experiencing a happier workplace, which means that
mhm,
we are also dealing with the employees, frontliners, for example. So when you
mhm,
promote and practice an ethic of compassion, not only you will provide such a very good environment of workplace, but also improved profit. Okay, so
mhm,
from your opinion, Mr. Fong, how do you think
mhm.
that compassion can transform the way you do your business?
Mm. Uh, Thank you, Nita, for this question. Indeed, this is a very real needs. There's a real needs to answer this question. Why? Because if you look at history, okay, all businesses are built based on compassion. Okay, from the uh, early imperialism era, okay, businesses were to exist with the consent of the queen. Why? Because the queen will ask you one question: why is your business needed in the community? You can ask a lot of lawyers or company secretaries. The fundamental of business is not to make money, it is to serve the people. So that is the first question before you get the license to start operating back in the the imperialism era. Okay, and we can see throughout history, all successful global businesses are actually built on empathy and compassion. Okay, save for the abuse uh, or some minor problems that we face, but the fundamental is on the empathy and compassion. I will give you a few example. Apple understand. Apple is not the fruit, is Apple is the company. Okay, Apple understand that people wants intuitive and easy to use phone, and Apple did a lot of research and development, and they revolutionized their phone industry by having their swipe and pinch gesture. Okay, for those who are old enough to understand that phone were actually button based, we press on button, and the pinching, okay, to zoom in and zoom out, and also the ability for you to scroll, for us to play Angry Birds. Okay, this is revolutionary. And how this happen is the company understand the pain. It is quite painful for a lot of people, okay, to not able to use it intuitively. And this is how Apple started it, and it changed the world and make Apple one of the most successful phone maker a few hundred years ago, approximately 200 years ago. Henry Ford. Okay, if you don't know who he is, he's the one building car. So before Henry Ford, there are already people building automobiles or what known as car now. But Henry Ford built the first automobile that middle class American could afford. He made cars available to many people because he understands that without a car, you cannot work and you cannot increase your productivity, right? And people needs a car, but it is too expensive. So you see, this is how you try to understand how the people feel and what are the pains. Okay. Of course, from if you look at business from the financial point of view, we want to sell as expensive as possible, right? But it is not about profit maximization. A real sustainable and successful business measures by the impact. It is not about maximizing profit, but to maximizing the impact to the stakeholders, which means the people and the community. So we come back to our perspective in today's world. What is business? Business is about people. It is always about people. Your workplace consists of people. Your suppliers and customers, they are people. The community that your business operates in are also made up of people. Very simple. If you run a factory and the emission, the gas emission, okay, the smoke that you release from your factory, it affects people around you, and we can't ignore that and saying that okay, it's none of my business. It doesn't work that way. So I'll give you a very simple scenario. Okay, what I mean here is actually the lives and well-being of people within and around your business. On the surface, business looks like this. I buy this mouse at 10 ringgit and I sell it at 20 ringgit. The profit is 10 ringgit. Very simple, right? But when we look at business from people's perspective, so for this purpose, I will replace the word business with the word organization to help us focus on the people. So, okay, now what happened after I make this 10 ringgit profit? I can keep 9 ringgit and pay you 1 ringgit for working for me. I can also pay you 2 ringgit and spend another 1 ringgit on your training or certification, okay, or for your well-being. That makes 3 ringgit out of 10. So this is the ratio that is very important for us to measure. Okay, if a company focus only on the profit maximization, they will adopt the first strategy, minimize your pay. But if a company focus on the sustainability of the business, okay, when they understand that business are made up of people, they tend to be more willing to spend on trainings and on the people itself. And this is where compassionate comes in. You have to start to understand that why people need to work. It is not because of the money. Okay, we cannot eat money, but money is needed for living, for livelihood, and for well-being. So you try to repeat the process of distributing the remuneration and the profit, repeat by 10 times or 100 times, and then you will know why some organization outperform their peers. I want to I want you to imagine this. Your manager sends your favorite chocolate ice cream during this MCO. Do you feel appreciated? It is a basic human need to want attention and to feel appreciated. This is how you and I feel loved. We do not need a scientific research to tell us that, hey, Nita, you will be more responsible, or your team member will be more focused on the task when you appreciate them and love them. We don't we don't need researchers to tell us this, right? So now the question is, if your manager sends you a surprise, sends you a favorite ice cream during MCO, will you be more willing to complete the tasks on hand? Will you be more receptive to feedbacks and continue to learn and improve? And most important of all, will you take ownership and complete your task responsibly? So let us switch role now. You are the leader in your organization. You can be a team leader, you can be a department head, you can even be the owner of the organization. Will you want to build a compassionate culture? I will give you an example. During this MCO, when the government starts announcing MCO back then in March 2020, there's this company that I know. Okay, they are distributor company, so they have a lot of operators and lorry drivers. What they did was they followed SOP imposed by the government. The government said every company needs to provide sanitization facility for the employee, and they bought one bottle of sanitizer, put in the receptionist area for 250 workers to share. The government says employer must provide face mask to the employee. They provide one face mask for every employee every week. So now, do you think that people would want to work in the company? I've spoken to the boss of the owner of the company. He said yes. Why? Because people don't have any choices, right? And this is uh, how the management's mindset translate to the culture. And when I interview the employees, it's quite obvious that they tell you they constantly spend effort to move to another better place. It is quite obvious. So if we do the maths, put it in number, we just put it in numbers, right? 8 working hours. How much time do you want your employee or your team member to focus on the task? Do you want them to spend 15 minutes browsing job street, or do you want them to spend another 2 more hours browsing Facebook to look for other jobs, right? And this is how compassionate get related into business, and this is how we look at business nowadays. And of course, compassion, like mentioned earlier, doesn't stop at people. The trees, the birds, the turtles, they all need our compassion too. So, great question, Nita. Thanks for asking. Pass back to
All
you.
right. Okay, so very good point. From one of the key point that you said, compassion is not only about how do you express your what you call that, empathiness to the workers or people in the organization, and not only providing the needs, but also how do you understand and put yourself into the other people's daily or routine work. Yes, I can understand from the example of the ice cream. Yes. And then, okay, before we go to the next question, Mr. Fong, there is a few
Mhm,
questions from the viewers. Okay,
mhm,
so Miss Razia, according to Miss Razia, a lack of
mhm,
compassion and empathy among very hot question, I can say
mhm,
that. Okay, lack lack of compassion and empathy among immediate superiors have caused low productivity, demotivation, and high resignation rate within the company. So she asked question, what can be done in this scenario? Yeah, we can see that
mhm.
nowadays, especially the statistics keep increasing, and we have becoming towards the depression part. So what you're saying, Mr. Fong?
True. Well, lack of compassion and empathy among the immediate superiors. This is actually related to how the company, the business owner, instill the the culture. Okay, and of course there are a lot of other reasons such as the environmental reason, and there are people's reason, because some people just couldn't practice that. Okay, it's not like they don't want to, but some people just couldn't. It's like you tell a fish to climb a tree, it could never understand, right? But however, we are human, we can be trained. Okay, in NLP's term, we call it conditioning, which means that we can train people. Okay, I always use this example. If human can train a lion to jump over the fire loop in circles, then possibly that we can train another human. Okay, so I'll explain this later. I'll extend this point again later. Okay.
Maybe towards the end of our sharing session. Okay, back
Yep.
to my question. Okay, like you said in the
Mhm,
beginning, okay, and we also agree, and viewers also may agree or disagree that compassion also relates with the empathy towards building resilience, sustain business. Okay,
mhm,
and there is also some of the scholars and researchers say that compassion cannot exist in isolation. I mean, cannot be
mhm,
separated. So it has
mhm,
to begin with a larger perspective of the organizational context for
mhm,
the values and norms, especially in our current environment. Okay,
mhm,
in so far, in order for the entrepreneurs, businesses to have a
mhm,
sustainable and competitive environment, how do you
mhm,
think that business leaders or entrepreneurs instill or develop the compassion among employees and their own businesses?
mhm. Yeah. So I believe this is also the extension to the question of the lack of compassion by Razia.
Yeah.
So okay,
Okay.
theoretically there are always two ways to do it. Either we do the top-down approach, okay, from the business owner down to the employee, or we do the bottom-up approach where we start from the bottom to up. Okay. So if we adopt the top-down approach, which most of the time is more effective and more uh, faster, okay, it has to start with the leader's belief, and because he's the role model. Okay, I I have met this guy, this CEO of a company. He said, okay, he hired consultants. Okay, he said, we want team building activities to build to motivate them to have sense of ownership. Okay, good. Okay, the company is paying for the trip to one of the island. Okay, 3 days, 2 nights. Okay, on consultant, you go. I have somewhere else to have something else to do. So do you think the motivational, the so-called motivational or summit will happen? No, it won't. So the leader is always the role model, and it is his belief system that starts to move to the second level. Okay, the second level down. How he incorporates compassion value into business goal and to measure performance. It always starts with his role model and then how we relate it to the business goals. Okay, back to our previous example, if what the owner wants is just to maximize profit, chances are you can't change him, right? Okay, and because the criteria, the KPI, KRAs, whatever matrix he's using, is only referring to the profit made, then the performance of compassion is not measured. And if it's not measured, there's no way we can tell. And the third level, the third step, is how he set up the policy and framework that supports this goal. It's like the example that I mentioned earlier. We want team building, we want team spirit. You guys go and I don't go. So this kind of policy, cantik sekali, right? So maybe because he don't want to go, maybe he just want to travel to a like overseas trip or whatever, right? Then it speaks all, right? And this is always the challenge. So it always starts with the leader, then go to the goals, how you set it, and then the framework. And These are the actions that we can take. Practice compassion during meeting. It's very simple. Okay. Encourage people to voice out and respect them. Okay. People can judge from your facial expression. Okay. It's like, huh? Then we know that you're doubting them, right? So what is important is for the leader or the management to create an environment that people feel safe to be compassionate. It's like in a meeting, right, of let's say 3 to 5 people. Even in schools or in universities, we have projects of 3 to 5 people, right? A lot of the time, the problem comes from team member not willing to speak up, and those who speak up get attacked. Okay, and this in this kind of environment, nothing can be done. So if you are on the employee's view, do evaluate your workplace and do review your boss and see if this is the guy that you want to work with him for the next like 3 to 5 years. It is very important to know that, like it or not, you're going to work for another 5 years. So why not pick an environment that is suitable for you, that can nurture you? Okay, and this is not about prejudice. This is about understanding the environment and yourself. Put it this way: if you are a cactus, please choose a desert. You don't choose somewhere else. If you're a rose, please don't go near the desert. It is not for you. Okay. And if you are the boss, you are the one creating the environment. So you can either use the top down approach or you can choose the bottoms up approach. How do you do that? Start with the hiring process. Hiring process is actually a very, very important uh, part of the organization. It is the gatekeeper to decide who comes in. Okay, and of course, we are not talking about um, judgment or screening. We are talking about what happened on the first step to the second, third, and fourth step that follows. Okay, I advocate for inclusive and openness when it comes to hiring. We need to be open enough to accept difference without judgment. Okay, without judgment means we give reasonable doubts to the candidates. Okay, although the reputation of this student on paper doesn't look nice, okay, doesn't qualify, doesn't match your criteria, but are you willing to give them a chance? So this is the first step to show them compassion, right? If the hiring manager say, okay lah, you're not a match, and then thank you very much. Even if this person get hired, do you think that the culture can start? No, it can't, right? Okay, because the HR is the first person to send the first message to the candidate, the one that really works in the organization. Okay, the real people working in the organization, and the hiring process is very important. And then the second step is we need to continuously engage with team members and encourage individualism, something that is very tough. Okay, why? Because people comes from different backgrounds and people will have different belief system. Okay, uh, and to accept them with respect is something that people need a lot of time to learn. Okay, until the organization or the team can accept that you are individually you, Nita, you are you, I am me, then only we can have a comfortable conversation to share my opinion. Hey, Nita, I tell you what, this is what I think, okay? Because I know that you are able to accept it. You are able to accept what I'm saying without prejudice, without attacking me. And then comes to the story of HR. Why do we use the word continuously engage? It's because HR's job is not to pay salary and to say who qualify for promotion or not. It is to understand the behavior and character of everyone and help them to grow. A good company, you can feel that they try to build you. Okay, compared to other profit maximization company, or I always call them the capitalists, they look at numbers. Numbers is like how many hours that you are working unpaid. That kind of numbers, right? Oh, the that guy works on Saturday and Sunday without claiming me OT. So you try to claim OT, is it? uh, so there are these companies. So choose the company that is suitable for you to grow. So either way, a small action that every company can take is to celebrate every small wins. Okay, it's like, oh yay, we have done something. It's not only about the routine. Happy birthday to you. No, not about that. It's about the personalization. It's like, I know you. I know that you are working over the weekend. Okay, so this I would love to relate it back to Razia's question about immediate superiors. You see, if immediate superior doesn't have this compassion, basically he couldn't understand what the employee has gone through. Working from home is a very good example. Okay, during this kind of meeting, if for example my son comes and say hi to you, what will the manager do? Some will just laugh, hey, young guy, little one. Okay, some might just say, hey, Mike, can you just get yourself a better place, right? So this is how it makes a lot of difference. So for every leader, regardless of your team leader or your manager or supervisor or business owner, do celebrate every little wins. For example, oh yeah, so good to see that you're working from home and making these initiatives, right, to join the meeting. Okay, so these are the small wins that we can have. And another method is to acknowledge mistakes. That helps the company to grow. Not all mistakes, okay? Is we try to acknowledge mistakes. We try to continuously learn from what happened and what caused this mistake. I can give you a very good example. NASA, the guy that sent rocket to the moon, right? So they have this partnership with another agency, the Canadian Space Agency, and there's this astronaut named Chris Hadfield. So he had trained more than 6 months to perform a task, go to the International Space Station, okay, to fix something, and then come back. Very simple task. For the 6 minutes routine that he needs to do, he practiced for 6 months, and then they send him up, and then he reached the space, and then he starts doing his wearing his suit and go out from the space station, and then doing his walk and start repairing. And then he realized something. His eye is tearing. And when you tear or in space, it's very terrible because it doesn't flow like this. It's like floating everywhere. You can't see. So what will happen? He has two options: abort the mission. Once the mission get aborted, they will need another 1 year to fix that. Okay, or continue because he has practiced so much for 6 months. He can do it with his eyes closed. And then when he returned to Earth, then people start looking at him. That guy, the one that has tears and almost jeopardized the whole mission. But this is not how NASA and this Canadian Space Agency look at it. They try to find the root cause. The root cause is because when he's cleaning his shield, face shield, there is a small percentage of alcohol in the cleaning agent. And then they thank him. Okay, they put into record. Okay, Mr. Chris Hadfield discovered that okay, this solution will cause this kind of implication, and they recognize this. So instead of pointing, hey, he's the one that nearly jeopardized everybody and put us on a 6 long minutes of nerve wracking. People recognize him and say, thanks for highlighting. And from that point onwards, they changed the procedure. So this is another method that everybody can do, okay, to build compassion. So pass back to you, Anita.
So very interesting point. What I can see that you say that not only being compassionate towards your what you are doing in your business, but also from the management concept, I can see that the 2 points that you highlighted, inclusion and recognition. Yes, it's true that in especially in our environment nowadays, people are working from home, doing business online at home, and you also need to ensure that your employees, your frontliners, your runners, have this kind of supportive from the leaders or the owners. So we need to include and then listen to the points, suggestions, respect them, and also recognize even a small success. Okay, because we need to include everybody in the part of the process. Okay, back we have a few other questions, so I just sum up. In addition to the next question, actually, Mr. Fong, it's just the same. So, Puan Haja asked that how the value of compassion in working environment can be practiced by both the employers as well as the business organization. And also same question from Miss Katie, how do you develop or motivate compassion at work or in business? So it is the same as what I want to ask, actually, the question, how do you actually create motivate or support compassion not only towards the frontliners, employees, but also to the management part in ensuring that your business is success.
Oh, Nita, thank you for the question. Hmm. We look at this question from the point of view of challenges. Okay, a lot of the time everybody says we want to do it. Okay, a lot of businesses understand it. It's not like they don't understand, right? How can you expect a business owner who couldn't understand this? But now the problem is this: the ability to understand is one thing. Choice is always another. For example, referring to the MCO case, the case study that I mentioned earlier. Okay, the employee understand the suffering of the truck drivers and of the operators, the frontliners. He understand it. Okay, this show that he has the ability to compassionate. He has the ability to empathy. However, he chose to use it against them. Okay, the logic is very simple. I know that you need this job because you have a family to feed. I have two options. Either during this pandemic, I retrain you so that you can have a different scope during this pandemic. For example, I can retrain an admin clerk, okay, with digital marketing skills so that she can help the company moving digital. The second is the company can cut your salary because, well, you are not allowed to work in the office, and then the company say that we can cut your we can reduce the salary, okay, and then we just offer you 50% cut. And because I, as the employer, know that you have a family to feed, and the COVID pandemic will give you no choice but to compromise. Okay, so it is matter of choice. So there are a few things that we can learn from these case studies. First of all, it is always about the background and belief system of the owner. Okay, the role model, because he's the one making final decision. And the policies and rules, whether written or implied, are always set and enforced by the owner. Okay, we can say that well, you guys need to wear face masks, but even I myself, as the owner, don't wear. It is quite obvious that we can choose not to wear, right? So to make a workplace, okay, more compassionate, more friendlier to people, it we can always start with ourselves. Okay, everybody has the ability to sense and to understand another people's feeling. This is already built in. So now, what is your decision? The next time in your meeting, if the meeting got interrupted, will you say it's okay, or will you make it a big topic or for debate, right? So this kind of practice, it will cascade down an entire and influence the entire organization. It always starts with you, okay, to influence your peers, people who are at the same level with you, and also people below you. We work in teams. There are always people. So it always starts with yourself. You might have heard stories like the most hardworking person normally will get the most task, right? In workplace, in a team of doing assignment is still the same, right? Oh, you're hardworking, right? You do, right? Or the most reliable person, you get the job. Good job, right? So, as a team member, are you compassionate enough to know who is taking a lot of job and what is your action? Are you going to try to help out? So that's why it is an ability, I would call it, that everybody has. However, when it comes to action, it is a choice that we need to ask ourselves, are we taking this step? Okay. So another big question is, are you sensitive enough or compassionate enough to know people around you who are being taken advantage, and will you help out? Referring to a group project or group assignment or a task, are you sensitive enough and are you courageous enough to take this step? So this brings us to the next point that I want to share with you: the organization's ability to measure performance. Human have been doing business for so many years, right? Nearly a few hundred years at least. And the best part is we can only measure by money. Okay, there's a lot of companies have no ability to measure the non-financial part of the business. Let's put it this way. First of all, we need granularity, which means that the level of details. I can know, for example, when it comes to let's say digital marketing, I can know how much sales comes in, but everything in between, it is hard for me to measure. Okay, and sometimes it doesn't
Mr. Fong? Okay, we have some technical issue from Mr. Fong's part due to the line problem. So we'll continue with Yeah, so sorry, guys.
Yeah, yeah,
So
I,
the line, the StreamYard line got some technical issues. So it was a very in the middle of a hot discussion. Maybe the line got jealous a bit, Mr. Fong. Maybe want to change, and because of
yeah,
the virus still of wandering out. But
yeah,
I understand that from the points of your views, yes. It is important that not only what do the management or the
mhm,
business owners, the business leaders try to portray. Like you said, if you implement SOP, if you do not practice, how come you
mhm,
ensure that the people in your organization to also follow? So it is about, again, like you said, inclusion, as well as how do you practice, how do you preach what you have implemented. Okay,
true.
and then okay, there is also one question from Miss Katie. She asked whether compassion is a skill or a quality that you need to have in your business or organization. What do you think, Mr. Fong?
It is an ability for me, and it is an ability that everybody has. It is an ability that we can further improve and make it a skill. However, our action is our choice. It's that I can feel that you are you're having problem, but whether or not I help you is another story, right? So this goes back to the story that the employer know that his staff needs the money to feed the family, but is he taking advantage? That is totally a different story, right?
So that means it can be it is an ability. That means it is from your, how do you bring your compassion into your life, and also as well as being empathy towards others. Right.
True.
The
Right.
next question. There are some factors that may restrict or challenges that may block the compassion in business, or restriction that the individuals or entrepreneurs may have to face in order for them to build up the compassion. So what do you think that some of the factors or challenges that businesses and or leaders or entrepreneurs
Mhm.
facing towards the business sustainability, Mr. Fong?
Well, it is always about the psychological if aspect. I always look at it from the psychological perspective. It is something like tragedy of the common. It's like if there's a pond of 10 fish and they keep breeding one fish every day, that 10%, everybody takes one fish, no problem. Okay. The problem is someone starts to take like two fish. And then because I'm afraid that you might take two fish, then I'll take three. So this is tragedy of the common. Okay. Or in some other term, it's like fear of losing out. So this is always a challenge that go against compassion. And unless we all agrees that we live in a community, we need each other to survive, we need to depend on each other, and we are all interconnected, then we can expedite the process of having compassion. It's like if we use the pandemic as an example, it's not about whether I get the vaccination or not, it's about you get it or not, right? So a lot of people are afraid that okay, we might not have enough vaccine, so I better protect myself first. Yes, it is true. However, until you also get vaccinated, everybody cannot go out. So it's about the community. So the bigger picture is we need to understand that it is about community. We are all interrelated. Okay, until the for example cats, dogs, and even bats gets vaccinated, right? Everybody will not be safe to put into this perspective, right?
So it is very challenging that not only well-established corporations, okay, throughout the world, also we are facing this. And yeah, like I agree what you said just now, Mr. Fong, is not only the community, but the main challenge is how do you ensure that you keep on moving towards providing better offers. How do you see your business strategies as well?
Mhm.
Okay. um, so you can see also nowadays, I think like past few years, if you can see that there are many people from different ages, like youngsters,
mhm,
millennials, from different backgrounds. Okay, they show their interest and I call that towards becoming an entrepreneur or to do
mhm,
business, but they may not be aware. Okay, maybe like you may say that, oh, becoming, saying I want to be an entrepreneur or I want to do a business may not be as easy as we just say out loud. Okay,
mhm,
so through your experience, through your expertise for in your industry, so what are some of the tips or
mhm,
advice that you may want to give to
mhm,
this entrepreneur to be having a plan to open up a business?
mhm. Oh, this is a very good question. There are two important factors that's most important of all. First is to look for people who resonates with you. Use your compassionate ability or your empathic ability to sense people who are able to resonate with you, because these are the people who works together with you for a common goal. If both of you cannot even work together, then probably don't start, right? So it is important to build your team. Business is all about people. Okay, do not confuse it with profit or money. Start with the people. Expand your circle from family and friends to people outside of your network, such as the friends of your friends or the friend of your lecturer, and even people that you know from LinkedIn. Most of the time, you will realize that people outside of your circle will have the skills that you lack of and the skills that you needed. He or she can add new viewpoints to help you to eliminate your blind spots. Whether you want to offer him as your team member or a mentor, and how to manage his relationship is something we can discuss in another session. Okay. The second point that I want to bring is the empathy skills that you have. Use it to fill your target market. Now that you have your team member, it's time to talk about market and business plan. You have to feel your target market and your customers. Use your compassionate skill to feel their sufferings. In business term, this means their pain point. So their suffering or their pain point can be as simple as long waiting time. Okay, I'll give you an example. In the early days before Grab and Uber exist, it takes me 1.5 hours to get a taxi to reach my house. Okay, why? Because I need to call up the center and wait for the response, etc., etc. It's very manual. Okay, that is about like 90 minutes of waiting time every time I need to get a taxi. But with Grab, the car normally reaches my house around 5 minutes. Okay, so if you are compassionate enough, you will know what is your customer's pain point, and your solution to my pain point is the business itself. So make sure you have teammates, okay, that have diversified skill set, so that you can have different viewpoints. Then use your skill to understand the market and what is the real pain. Always remember that in business, it is not about what you sell, it is about what they want. I hope that answer your question.
Very good point. But what I like from your last point is, don't look what do you want to give, but look at the needs of the environment and the demand. Okay, so what we can say from our session today. Okay, so compassion is in business is not only to ensure that your business can be operated, can be run effectively and efficiently, but also towards a sustainability and successful growth. So throughout our session, what I can find the key points. Okay, you talk about compassion is an ability. Okay, compassion is an ability from the higher level in that organization on how do you see
Mhm,
that people can work together. Okay, then business is about people. Okay, now, yeah, I agree with that also, Mr. Fong, that we are not
Mhm.
only trying to get maximum profit as possible, but it is about people, your people in the organization, people in the community, and people at large. And from compassion, okay, there are
Mhm.
certain there are few points that you have highlighted from towards the sharing inclusion, which is I agree
Mhm.
so much. Okay, you need to include people, regardless
Mhm.
whether they are from the frontliners, customer service, because they are the one who share or experience what they are facing through in everyday operation.
Mhm.
And then
Uh,
yes, respect. Okay, you have to listen, the ability to listen and attentive towards the listening, as well as the most important thing is that recognize and share a little success so that everybody is being appreciated. So for that, okay, we are very much grateful to have you, Mr. Fong, today. Okay, despite of your busyness, okay, your training sessions, okay, your working, your what you call that, fathership, for example. Okay, so very much appreciative for your time to spend with us today. And yeah, I think that you also have some more points to share, since we are having a jealous of time, so we are near to the end. Okay, so I would like to say my gratitude to Mr. Fong, okay, to be here today, to talk about a good topic. So maybe after this, we have another episode continuously to discuss on building a more better business in our current environment. And thank you to viewers, all right, for your support, for your time to join with us. A good question, hot topics, hot discussion, hot questions as well. And for those out there, for students, okay, who may have the passion, you have to think like what Mr. Fong said. Do you have the passion and patience towards building and developing sustainable business? So before we end the session, okay, so we are having a good experience today. All right, to viewers out there, to participant, okay, to the guests. All right, if you want to know more about us, okay, Masa Avenue International College, okay, do visit our website, okay, www at .mic.edu.my, so you can browse through interesting details in there, and you may contact our expert business consultant to talk and to ask about the programs, or you may also visit us, okay, but now since MCO again, so you may just go online. Okay, feel free, okay, browse through our website, contact our business consultant, okay, to know more about the programs. Okay, not only business programs, but we have, okay, Mr. Fong, we have another programs as well, beauty from a School of Beauty and Aesthetics, creative media like mass communication, IT, uh, multimedia, okay, as well as graphic design. So these are what we want to ensure that students or graduates not only focusing on their academic, but what we have the interest, if we have the passion and compassion in developing the business. Okay, Mr. Fong, thank you again for joining us today. So hopefully that we will meet again in another session to talk another topic. Okay, Mr. Fong, thank you, and the rest of you have a good day. Stay safe. All right, and bye bye. See you soon.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye,
Thank
everyone.
you.
Stay safe.